So my last question to you is, India is still part of the Troika, the governance system of the G20.
So,
how does
we are still presidency of G20.
We're holding the session as well. Any details?
Well, we are still president till the end of November.
Any details on the sessions, or we planning?
Oh, you mean the
virtual session?
No, not yet.
But essentially, when it comes to the governance system, the Troika, how do we plan to take forward the conversation when it comes to the Brazilian presidency?
You know, that's a very smooth tradition. We were already a year before part of the Troika with Indonesia. So what happens is, there is this culture in the G20 that, you know, the president before and the president after, with the current presidency, they all sit and work together. So we've already done one part of it. We are more or less at the end of the second part, so we will very smoothly go into the third. And the real idea is that the initiatives should not have a shelf life limited to one presidency. That it allows for a very smooth movement on to the next one, and hopefully the next one after that. You share experiences, you really bring, you support each other in this. So we received, I must say, tremendous support from the Troika, and we will surely, pay that back in full measure and more. I mean, I think, and I again would say, look, for a country like India today, it's not just being part of a Troika. I mean, we, as this summit has demonstrated, we've really gone up to a different level. Our influence is more, our ability to shape the agenda is more, the expectations of us are more, our responsibilities are more. So yes, certainly we'll be part of the Troika next year, but I would say even after that, within the G20, in other international groupings and organizations, in world affairs in general, I think this G20 has sent out a very clear message that India under Prime Minister Narendra Modi is ready, is capable, is willing to really do more, shoulder more, contribute more. I think that's a message which everybody, all the G20 countries, all the others, the invitees, the international organizations, they've all carried away from the summit.
And so how did Prime Minister give direction to the entire presidency? I believe Prime Minister has met the ME officials as well.
Yes, he was good enough to come yesterday to the G20 Secretariat. It was frankly a bit of a surprise for us, because the Secretariat was holding its own meeting. Then I said I'll drop by, and then when I went there, I was told, well, there's a possibility the Prime Minister may also drop by and thank people. And he came there. He was good enough to spend some time, but very typically he used it. He took feedback from people, their impressions, what could be different, what did they feel is a learning from the whole experience. But through this entire process, I would say we were enormously helped by the fact that there was the vision, I would say the ambition of the Prime Minister in taking forward the G20. A lot of the concepts were his, the idea that we do it in so many cities, we do it in this way, projecting our culture, our traditions, involving, he was not happy with just officials meeting in rooms. For him, what was the impact of that on the world? So he encouraged us, to take it out, to involve universities, colleges, professional organizations, and then when it came, and again, if you look at a lot of the initiatives, specifically the Lifestyle for Environment initiative, the Women-led Development initiative, the Millets issue, a lot of these have his personal imprint. I mean, he spent really a lot of time thinking it through, planning it, motivating us, sometimes I'd say pushing us really to do that. And it could be big things, it could be very, very, very fine details. But you always had that sense that, look, he was there. And as I said in the last a few hours when we hit those last few roadblocks, if I went to him in some cases and said, it would help us if you talk to a counterpart leader, and he was always willing.
Internally in the MEA as well, we saw a lot of capacity building in the sense that I saw a lot of young officers at the Bharat Mandapam. But my last question, I've already asked the last question, is how will history remember the Delhi G20 summit?
I think history would remember it as a inflection point in a sort of graph of a rising India. That people would say, yes, this was one of those big moments when, whether it was shaping the agenda, whether it was creating a consensus, whether it was our organizational capability, whether it was demonstrating technology or culture. So this was India at its best, really stepping forward and doing something much bigger. And as you say, the expectations of a lot of people was that we wouldn't be able to pull it off, which we showed we could, and not just could, but I mean, if I may say so myself, we did it very, very smoothly. But I think G20 will also, if you were to write a G20 history, not a India history, I think anybody writing a G20 history would say this was probably one of the most substantive G20s, that the kind of issues, reform of multilateral banks, handling debt, green development, food security, women gender divide, mapping of skills. So we've really taken on some very, very consequential issues. These issues will determine the world's future in the next decade. So I think our history will remember us well, but surely the G20 history will also remember us.
Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to WION. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and you, of course, are showing the India way. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Pleasure.